Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today I am privileged to be joined by Rabbi Moshe Kaufman, Kashrus Administrator at the KVH and co-chair of the AKO Camp Kashrus Committee. Rabbi Kaufman, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's great to be back.
Now we spoke to you about a year ago about Kashrus in summer camps, and we brought you back here today for an update, for a further discussion. And above all, I'd love to hear what you've seen and what you've heard and what you've learned over the last year. Now, just to preface our conversation, you as the co-chair of the AKO Camp Kashrus Committee and other Rabbanim Machshirim have devoted tremendous concerted effort toward raising the standards of Kashrus in summer camps. Previously, we could say it was somewhat of a Wild West. People were doing their own thing and not deliberately allowing things to get out of control, but that's just the way it is when you don't have a system in place. And credit to you and the other Rabbanim Machshirim who have really guided camps to improve the systems that they have in place, to implement certain standards that are really, frankly, the way they should be. So having said that, with that introduction, thank you for being here. Tell us what you've learned over the last period of time.
So you mentioned credit to the other Rabbanim, which would be namely Rabbi Fishbein for really pushing all the AKO projects, but specifically this one in place, and my co-chair, Shalom Tendler, from the Star K. Shalom Tendler was always the first one to send out that email. I was like, guys, we got to get on top of this again, and obviously the rest of the committee members. You mentioned people who give their time and care selflessly about this. Well, people always question. Well, everyone has an ulterior motive. And now the truth is, the only one who doesn't have an ulterior motive is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Short var, Goimel Chasad Tovim. One of the Mepharshim in the Siddur say that what's Chasad Tovim is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only one who does Chesed with no ulterior motives. So the truth is, there's always ulterior motives. It makes us feel good and whatnot. We do not get paid for this. Not only do we not get paid, I'll reiterate, it comes out of our own expense or our VAD's expense.
Meaning your travel expenses,
expense,
your time.
Exactly. We try to work it into our trip. I visited a camp yesterday. I was doing something for work in the Berkshires, had to be in Edison, New Jersey after that, so we drove the long way around from Boston down to New Jersey. The camp happened to be in a specific area that was only 40 minutes out of the way. I said, you know what, let me get it in. That time is mine. I had a family member with me, that time is mine. Any travel expenses, it's either on the VAD, that's the sponsoring VAD, or it's on, no one pays for this. Mm-hmm. There are scenarios where camps do invest money in kashrus. Again, the goal of the initiative initially was to teach camps how to set up kashrus properly themselves. We knew people aren't, you're not going to get people to spend money on this project. Obviously, sometimes there are basic fixes. A guy says, I just want to use one set of dishes for milk and flakes, it's not going to work. You got to teach them. But to pay for hashgacha, that wasn't even the goal. The outset was teach them how to do it internally. Mm-hmm. And we've been nominally successful with this. I'd say every year more and more successful as we've learned how to interact with the camps. That's the dedication we have. One of the things we did learn, when we went to the camp this past year, I believe it was Rabbi Tendler or Rabbi Snow was on the committee, had the idea, like they have this camp expo in the Meadowlands.
Sure.
So why don't we go to the camp expo? We showed up to the camp expo. Besides that, we're not as exciting as everything else.
Did you have a booth there?
We had a booth. We had a booth at the expo.
Uh-huh.
There were the three of us there manning the booth, throughout the day.
And basically, what you were quote unquote selling, you were selling free advice.
We were selling free advice
for improving kashrus in your camps.
Exactly. People could not wrap their minds around it.
Uh-huh.
Like, come on, what's the catch? What's the catch? That was the number one thing they wanted to know is what's the catch? Mm-hmm. Like, are you going to try to sell us on your hashgacha? For which hashgacha are you? That was another thing. People were not as familiar with AKO as we said, oh, KVH, Star K, Kaf K. Okay, people are familiar with it. So what's the catch? Is Kaf K going to try to stop? No, we're not here on behalf of Kaf K. We're not here on behalf of KVH. We're not here. We're here with our expertise to help you. And that was the number one question we got from people. What's the catch? What's going on? So the truth is the only catch was it bothers us. I guess that's our ulterior motive. You could say it's not toiv, but we still call it toiv. The only catch was we want kashrus to be good. We want it to be successful and to teach people how to do it internally using existing people on site. Most of the way it works is there's so many, you go to a girls' camp, for instance, there are so many people, husbands at girls' camps that can be trained to do this. It can be the women themselves. It can be even counselors. There's many people, but there are definitely in Galite hanging around at girls' camps, learning the Spanish all day. Designate one of them as a mashgiach. You give them a bungalow. I get it. Their wives have jobs. Whether the camp has to pay for it, not pay for it, whatever deal they make, but there's people there who can take a charas for it.
So over the last year that you visited camps and you started implementing this free service, give me a quick checklist. What are the issues that you found to be most problematic in the typical camp?
So the number one issue, if you're going to come to camp, not every camp had issues, so it's a good thing you bring that up. the number one issue is a lack of systems. So you call up, and I personally got this response from someone. What kosher system is in place? We have a Hasidic cook. Hasidic cooks are great. Firm cooks. Having a firm cook is the step one. That doesn't solve your issues. Your kitchen's open, I don't know, 12 to 16 hours a day at least. He's not working all those hours. What systems are in place for when he's not there? There could be firmwares. There are systems in place.
When you say systems, you're talking about a mashgiach tmidi, a yotze v'nichnas, locks on fridges, separate, keeping milchiks locked when fleishiks are being served, and vice versa. What do you mean by systems?
Okay, it's a combination of all the above. And not necessarily does one system that works for one place is the system you need for another place. So when you say system, you make it sound like we walk in there and say, okay, every camp has to be the same. It's not at all like that. You need to have a plan. Without a plan, the plan is to fail. That's what we're looking for in camps.
So what did you give the camps? Did you give them a checklist that would serve as a plan
Exactly.
for their setup?
Exactly.
And that you compiled after reviewing their setup and the people.
And this is
everyone basically got a tailor-made to their situation.
So depending how far we go, if we were giving formal hashgacha, we'd be investing a lot more, significantly more time. Someone's paying us for it. With the camps, we are giving them. When we audit someone, and this I will tell you, it's not just true for the camp running that that needs to operate with hashgacha, with their internal hashgacha. It's true for us as well. When we first got this project off the ground, obviously we went in with checklists, and the first camp I went to, I didn't download them. Again, all of our hashgachas all have very sophisticated software and proprietary software and data management software that we all use, and all automated and integrated. You can pull up any ingredient used in any product and know which ingredients used where. Fine. You're not going to have that for this, and it's hard to use one hashgacha software when you're doing a group project. We did come up with a basic form. You can use a Jot form, you can use Google form. You need a questionnaire. I'm doing kashrus for over a decade. We're in my second decade of doing kashrus. My father's been doing this many, many years. I grew up with this. We have what we call Schedule A, Schedule B's inspection reports. You have your ingredient list, you have your product list, and you have your list of questions you ask. Obviously, you need seichel to look around what's not on paper. Your aleph base has to be what's on there, otherwise you forget. In the first camp I went to, I forgot to download it, so I tried pulling it up there, and of course you're in the sticks, you're in the boondocks, there's no internet. And I started the inspection report, and as I'm going, I was thinking of more and more things that were happening, and when I got back out and I got an internet connection downloaded, I forgot to ask 3 very important questions. And I followed up via email. So it's not just important for someone who doesn't have the expertise. It's just as important, and maybe even more important, for someone who is coming and saying, I am the expert. Mm-hmm. You need to have that. If you don't have that written plan, you're going to forget. Things are going to get messed up. And that's what we're selling. That's what we're advising. Have a plan. Is everyone going to have an actual written plan that they're following up on the way I require a mashgiach? Our payment system is tied to the reporting system. You don't submit a report, you don't get paid. Is everyone going to have that? No, I don't even expect them to have that. Halavai, everyone would have that. It's not happening. Have a basic plan. Be conscious about it. Do it consciously. It's not just an afterthought. Oh, it's probably going to end up being kosher. If you go with that attitude, you're going to inevitably make mistakes. So I'll take a step back. What we started doing was camps that met the basic minimum standard. We started publishing a list of camps that we felt we could recommend. We weren't certifying them. All we were saying is there was a system. When we visited, there was an adequate system in place.
I could access that list?
Yes, it's on the public areas of the AKO website. I believe it's AKO and we update it annually. Mm-hmm. We try to visit all the camps that we visited in the past. We try to visit at least once a year.
And that's in all regions of the United States?
Or I would say all regions.
Tri-state?
We try to visit or work with someone locally to visit any camp that asks. Okay, so we were asked by a camp in Florida. It was a traveling camp. Sometimes it's harder to gauge what's going on, especially because a lot of the traveling camps, their systems are not their strong suit. It's not impossible, but people who are going to a trade place and kind of like winging it and saying, we go to hotels, we go to Airbnbs, it's all good.
Because kind of by their very nature, these camps are operating on the fly.
Correct.
So it presents tremendous challenges.
Yeah, very much. So not every camp we visited is on this website. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. I'm not going to say which camps are not.
So just because, we'll tell our viewers, just because your child's camp is not on that list doesn't mean that it's not acceptable?
It doesn't mean it wasn't acceptable. It's very possible. We visited, reviewing what we visited, I believe there are 12 camps or maybe 15 camps on the list. There are hundreds of camps out there.
Right.
For instance, the Hasidic camps, this is actually an area where they've excelled. I can't tell you what they have, the systems in place, but they're in this particular they're way ahead of us.
Really?
Yes. For the most part, many of the Hasidic camp systems, especially when you talk about like Satmar where they have a whole system internally of their own camps, where they, I don't know, where they have a dozen camps, 10 camps, I don't know exactly how many between the boys and the Masiftas and the girls. They must have, what, 10 dozen camps or so? I know they have internally, they all have hashgacha. Most of the Hasidic camps, there was a whole other organization that actually reached out to us to talk with us what we're doing and sending us their literature. They were going, I would say, more hardcore than we were going in terms of they were insisting on proper hashgacha, independent hashgacha.
Real hashgacha. At their expense.
We did not feel at the camp's expense.
Right.
They were going hardcore at this. We did not feel that we felt it was a little bit tafasta more related to fasta. Let's teach the camps how to do it internally. It's a great thing to have, but we didn't feel that that was something that was realistic at that point. I still feel that way. You're going to hopefully get more people.
But would I be right to say that you would encourage parents to reach out to the children's camp, send an email, a phone call, just ask them, what system do you have in place for kashrus? And kind of let the camp operators know that it's on our radar.
Correct. I wouldn't say that. Camps are going to be very quick to dismiss parents' concerns. With anything, you ask them what their medical system is. Don't worry, we have an excellent nurse. Well, you can imagine a medical professional is going to start asking more questions about that. Who's this excellent nurse? Not necessarily what their name is, but like, what are their qualifications and what system? What does your infirmary look like? Is it, some dungeon somewhere, or is there a proper building for your infirmary? Obviously, kashrus professionals will ask more. Someone who knows a medical professional may ask them, like, what do I ask them about their medical staff? Well, feel free to reach out to AKO or reach out to your local kashrus organization. What do I ask my child's camp? And you can email camps at akokosher.org. Feel free to reach out to us, and we reach out to any camp. Should feel free now. We encourage any camp to reach out to us. This is a free audit, so to speak. It's a free consultation. It is completely free. We don't charge travel expenses. We don't charge a fee. It's completely free. Any camp can reach out to us and say, hey, can you come check it out? And I would say
how long does that review, that audit typically take?
Depending on the size of the camp, it could be anywhere from, I'd say, 45 minutes to an hour to 3 hours.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the whole
so
thing.
I would say it's a relatively small investment. It's really
no
zero.
Investment.
No investment.
There's
They just have to open their doors to you.
Open the doors and cooperate.
And what they'll end up with is that, just like they're worried about, we say it's a cliche, but just like the camps worry about what comes out of children's mouths, they'll be equally concerned about what goes in, and they'll prevent.
We usually say the opposite.
They say the opposite. Well, they'll ensure there's no timtum alev and chas v'shalom tarfis and all other types of concerns. So what you're really doing in your committee, kol kavod, what you're doing is tremendous service. Some people would say better late than ever, because this is an issue that, for those in the kashrus field, they've been concerned about really for years. And we understand why things just happen on their own. And yeshivas traditionally never had oversight of this sort, so it carried over to camps. But now your committee is really making inroads, and I would say the wider community is grateful to you for that contribution. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Final thoughts are, this is I'll just reiterate, it is completely free. There's no obligation to the camp, and I'd say on parents, the community at large. You get the kashrus. The word deserve maybe is a little strong lashon, but you get what you ask for. If you don't ask, you're not going to get. Don't expect, and don't be shocked to find out that there's a problem when you've never asked about it. You can say it was never on your radar. Well, now it is. So put it on your radar, ask the camps, and we're happy to do our free consultation, review, and not only that, help the camps build a plan.
Thank you, Rabbi Kaplan, for that update and the general information regarding kashrus and camps. Next week, we'll take a walk through a typical camp kitchen together with you, and we look forward to learning more.
I look forward to it.